If the Justice Department, with 8 federal agencies over 3.5 years, would carry out Fast and Furious to blame the Second Amendment and restrict U.S. citizens' right to keep and bear arms, would they be involved in the Dark Knight Batman Massacre? That's a question. But it's not just that. We have caught government and different elements of government and corporate interests that influence government staging terror attacks, blowing up of buildings, burning down buildings for thousands of years. Nero did it, of course, close to 2,000 years ago, a little less than that, and blamed it on the Christians, who he couldn't politically deal with. This is well known that he burned part of Rome. So I would be crazy when I see an event like this happen. I'm going to go over a small snapshot of the evidence, but it's quite a bit. So please bear with me. Take notes, look into what I'm about to cover, and discover that there's a lot going on here, and that you would have to be very naive and very historically ignorant to not immediately, when you see an event like this, a week and a half before Obama is set to sign the unpopular UN anti-gun treaty, when they've got 2 senators that they need to sign on to ratify it in the Senate. They've almost got it. And this magically happens. And then I look back to Columbine and other events. It's always right before, and it always has the same MO. They report multiple shooters. Hundreds of bombs were brought in by Harrison Kleinbold. This was all in the back of the newspaper. The school was half empty. They made a film about how they would do it, produced with the school 6 months before. On and on and on. You see this, and then you see the same MO in the same military-industrial complex area right outside Denver, just a few miles from Columbine. It's another suburb of Denver. And then you understand that historically governments have done this countless times, and it's been admitted. It makes your head spin when a minority of people say, hey, you shouldn't be questioning this. Now, first exhibit here is an article by Mike Adams that covers a lot of the big bases. Very well done. Colorado Batman shooting shows obvious signs of being staged. He goes through incredible historical background and shows that government's the biggest threat, and he uses crises. And he covers some of the evidence I'm about to go over right now. So I would ask everybody to please go check that out. Before I get into the history here, I also want to point out that we talked about this back in May, that they were hyping in FBI flyers shooting attacks on movie theaters. And we're calling for increased security, basically TSA-style security at movie theaters and malls. And the TSA began earlier this year rolling out TV ads showing them at shopping malls and NFL football games. So, again, always the same. And there was even talk of government doing drills around this, just like they did on 7/7 with the London bombings in 2005. The government ran an exact drill, the exact targets being hit. If you don't believe me, just look that up. Drills of 7/7 bombings in London, and it's ITN, it's Fox, it's Sky Television. With the head of the drill admitting it, Peter Power. But that's a side issue here. I'm not going to get into that today. I shot this video quickly after the radio show yesterday, and again, about 80% of people agree with me in the votes on there, but 20% disagreeing. That's still a large minority, a larger group than we normally have disagreeing. So I just assembled a bunch of exhibits here. I'm just going to go through them in random order because it'd take all day if I tried to get them in a particular order. Let's just pull this up first. Again, that's Mike Adams' report on that. Here is the Detroit Free Press, a copy of it. You have to go through the subscription wall to find it on the Detroit Free Press site. And this was actually on C-SPAN last year. A few months after I had Kurt Haskell on, one of the witnesses and survivors of the underwear bombing attack that they used to put the scanners in, they came out and admitted, the State Department admitted on C-SPAN, you can pull it up, that they were ordered by an unnamed U.S. agency to help get the obviously drugged Muttalib on the plane without a passport. And they got him his visa, and we broke that, but then later it was confirmed. You can look it up for yourself right there. Just type in State Department, says Muttalib, help Muttalib get on plane, and you can pull up that exhibit right there. Here, let's just go ahead and pull up the next one. Do you remember the events that took place with the Mumbai attacks that happened a few years ago? And at the time, I said these giant attacks in India on the shopping malls and other areas, it looks like it was staged by Western powers as a pretext to get India and Pakistan fighting. And the head of Indian intelligence said that and was killed that day. You can look it up. The guys were on PCP, LSD. They were injecting it. All that came out later. They were landed on boats, obviously totally programmed, which is a 70-year-old technology. I'm going to get into that in a moment. But it even came out in the Chicago Tribune and mainstream news that the head guy was a CIA agent. There it is, the face of the Mumbai terror, David Coleman Headley, CIA agent. I mean, it just always comes out later. Just like the head of the 7/7 bombings, Fox News, BBC, a SWAT was MI6. Just look that up. Just type it in, look it up. I mean, it's not debated. Oh, for those that don't know about mind control, just type in Dr. Ewan Cameron. Thousands of children kidnapped at U.S. bases, totally reprogrammed, as well as men and women to carry out assassinations, sex slaves, any of it. They have 2-hour documentaries on PBS and History Channel admitting the entire thing with all the witnesses declassified. That's the head of the MKUltra program. His main protege was Dr. Jolyon West, who died a few years ago, who was McVeigh's doctor. Oh, let me continue here. Okay, for those of you that don't know what MKUltra is. The Gleiwitz incident. Let's talk about what happened. How did Hitler just attack Poland in 1939? Well, they staged, this is declassified, an attack dressing up Polish prisoners and concentration camp prisoners, people that they grabbed in Germany, as Polish soldiers and shooting them. And then shooting newsreels and saying they'd attacked the military radio installations at Gleiwitz. The Gleiwitz incident was a staged attack by Nazi forces posing as Poles on the 31st of August, 1939. The German radio station Sender Gleiwitz in Upper Silesia, Germany, on the eve of World War II in Europe. And they put out a proclamation saying that they had been attacked. So there you have it. There is Gleiwitz. Just type in FBI fake terror, and you get New York Times. Right over here on top of it is the London Guardian. I just show you this because there's literally, well, it says 8 million results come up for this, but it's really hundreds of thousands. London Guardian, how they stage fake terror attacks. New York Times, Infowars, the Atlantic Wire, anti-war. I mean, you hundreds of them. Some cases it's not even provocateur. They just totally stage it. Like the World Trade Center bombing in '93, which even came out in the New York Times because their own informants went public. They cooked the bomb, trained the drivers. They were mentally ill, local men who had IQs right above retarded. Okay, so just in case, like, oh, Alex, you shouldn't be questioning that government might do something like this. Really? Let me just hurry through a couple more of this. Again, there's more terrorists helped by the FBI. Here's Sirhan. And if you just type in his name, you get CNN, London Guardian, Yahoo, all of it, with the LAPD admitting he didn't shoot RFK and it was the guy behind him with the Secret Service, and that he was drugged with an amnesiac, and that he was completely set up. Just Sirhan, the killing of RFK. Continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, with more of these. ATF boss is threatening whistleblowers, not to talk about Fast and Furious. Again, if they would stage Fast and Furious, they would stage anything. Again, there's a news report about the CIA guy running the attacks overseas and blaming it on Muslims. Here's another one, Daily Mail, the most dangerous drug in the world, devil's breath. Scopolamine, they've had this for hundreds of years. You can give somebody a little bit of it to drink or blow it in their face. For hours, they'll do whatever you tell them, including sticking their hand in a meat grinder, jumping off a cliff, killing their own children. This is the type of stuff they can just go in. The eyewitnesses, we have some videos here, are reporting, all of them, that there were multiple smoke bombs being thrown from different directions to distract everybody, and that the guy was wearing a mask. Then they just go get some drugged up guy who they've set up, who was in a brain sciences advanced program where so many of these mind control people get picked up from, whether he was one of the shooters or is just totally set up like the Reichstag guy that got blamed, Marinus Vanderloo. Okay, I mean, it just fits the exact MO. And again, there is the Reichstag fire in 1933 that they used to take over Germany and then line everybody up and basically arrest them. You might want to find out a little bit about that. Again, here's the video with people talking about other shooters and other people throwing things from different directions. This is just the tip of the iceberg, okay? I could go on and on and on for 10 hours. I'm begging you to understand that they always get caught, but it comes out months later that intelligence agencies were involved. It does come out. Very few are involved. Most of the local police aren't involved. It's just a need-to-know basis done at the national security level. That's why they do so many of these right around Colorado, because that's where the real capital is based. Just look it up for yourself. Other governments pull off the exact same type of deals to take guns, restrict liberties. That's why I'm saying this has all the earmarks, ladies and gentlemen, not just the timing of the treaty coming up. I'll cover it more on the radio tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, Infowars.com. Check out everything I've said. And please spread this video to everyone you know.